Have you ever heard the saying that sometimes life imitates art? You know, I used to really like this saying until I realized that in most of these situations, life is not imitating art at all, at least not naturally. Because you see, over time, the art has been manipulated. The art has been tampered with. The art has been injected with messaging, with photos, with videos, with scenarios that are purposely placed there to desensitize you, to make you feel more comfortable when you see these crazy situations that you used to watch in movies and on television start to happen in real life. It's called predictive programming. And if you don't know what predictive programming is, then you need to do some homework tonight. You see, since the beginning of the entertainment industry, there's always been these subliminal messages placed within movies and television and in songs. And you know, it's gotten even crazier in recent history to the point that some of these movies and TV shows that are coming out are almost just a splitting image of scenarios that play out in real life months later. And the same thing is going on right now with this Ohio train derailment, with this chemical spill in Ohio. You see, in 2022, Netflix released a movie called White Noise. In this movie, a train carrying toxic chemicals is traveling through a small town in Ohio before exploding and releasing toxic chemicals all around this community. You see, that's what happens in the movie White Noise. And it just so happens that exact same situation just played out in a small town in Ohio, just like in the movie. But to take it one step further, if you don't think that's weird enough, the scenes that were filmed from the White Noise movie of this train exploding, those scenes were filmed in the same town where this actual train derailment chemical spill is happening right now. And to make matters even crazier, a lot of the people who have been forced to evacuate their homes, a lot of the people whose health will be affected by this for the rest of their lives, they actually starred as extras in this movie. I kid you not. The same people, the same town of people who are affected by this real world chemical spill train derailment were just extras in a movie acting out the same exact scenario a few months ago. Now that is what I call predictive programming. Now I know the universe works in mysterious ways. I'll be the first person to tell you that. But at some point, these things start becoming more than just a coincidence. I've been telling you all that since this situation happened, since day one of me covering this story, which started on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, go follow me on Twitter. That I don't necessarily believe that this is some big accident. I believe that this could have been done purposely. And seeing as they just released a movie about this exact same situation a few months ago, I'm really starting to question things. I can't play the clips here because YouTube will hit me with copyright strikes and you name it. But you can line up the videos from this actual train derailment explosion and the train derailment explosion in the movie, and they almost look exactly the same. You could just pick footage from the movie or pick footage from real life and it would work in either scenario because these scenarios are almost exactly the same. Now, how does that happen? And how do all of these coincidences happen? How does The Simpsons continue to predict random things that happen in our world. Is this all one huge coincidence? Or are the powers that be injecting our movies and television shows with these certain scenarios to almost, it's hard to really place a word for what they're doing to us, but they're definitely manipulating us. They're trying to normalize things before they happen. They put a bunch of crazy stuff in a movie, you watch it, you become desensitized to it, your mind opens up to those possibilities, and then when it happens in real life, you don't think nothing of it as much because, hey, you just watched a movie about it. This has been happening for years and years and years and years. And it would take a whole separate series of videos for me to go into all of the occasions in which this has happened. I'm sure that a lot of you all watching this video know about predictive programming. If you know about it, then let us know some examples down in the comments below. But I want to go ahead and hop into this article. In the 2022 Netflix film White Noise, a train carrying toxic chemicals gets into an accident and is derailed, unleashing fumes that create an airborne toxic event. This chemical spill requires everyone nearby to evacuate the area and seek shelter far from the crash. Last week, a real-life train crash happened that is just like the one in the movie. The train was transporting several chemicals, including the highly combustible vinyl chloride, which both spilled from the cars that they were carried in. A huge fire resulted from the crash, and officials feared that the chemicals might cause an explosion, prompting thousands of local residents to evacuate the area. One resident, Ben Ratner, had the crazy experience of not only having to evacuate his home this week, but he also acted out this exact same scenario earlier as an extra in White Noise. The first half of the movie, he says, is almost exactly what is going on here. The parallels between this and real life are uncanny. I hope someone tells Ben about predictive programming, because I think the residents of this area need to know what predictive programming is. And I think that the residents of this area need to question why Hollywood decided to come into their little town and make a movie all of a sudden about a train derailment explosion. Just think about it. I'm someone who's well-versed in the movie world. That's actually why I started YouTube in the first place. Hollywood knows that in order to make successful movies these days, half of them have to be attached to big IPs, big franchises, superhero movies, things like that. How many movies these days, low-budget movies, are coming out about train derailments? Think about that. Oh, the plot of this big Hollywood movie is a train derailment. Does that not sound boring? Does that not sound like something that wouldn't make much money in the box office? Yet, hey, they had to make this movie, and for some reason they chose to film it right where the real train derailment happened months later. I think the residents of this area need to start asking questions. Because, in my opinion, you could say what you want, I don't think this is normal. I don't think it's normal that Hollywood decided to make a movie about a train derailment in the first place. Let alone, they decided, hey, let's go out of everywhere in the world, we're going to film it right here in this little town in Ohio, which will be the home of a real train derailment, chemical spill, environmental disaster a few months from now. And these same people dealing with this real-life chemical spill were dealing with this fake chemical spill as extras on this movie. almost preparing them for this real life scenario that was about to strike their town, almost normalizing and desensitizing the people of this area to what was about to happen to this area months later. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you all, but I am done. I am finished chalking all of this weird stuff up to coincidences. At this point, I feel like they're just trying to make us look and feel stupid. There's too many of these scenarios that are playing out. Every single catastrophe that we have in our world somehow plays out on a movie right before it happens. This same thing goes for the public health crisis that we went through over the last couple of years. I'm done. I'm done with it's just a coincidence. It's life imitating art. No. Too many dots are starting to get connected. This is happening way, way too often. And then when you look at the owners or the major shareholders of these train companies, or of this train company that derailed in this small town in Ohio, you would see that it's BlackRock and Vanguard and others who have been buying up the farmland. They've been buying up the real estate. They already want to get the farmers off their crops. They want to control the crops. They want to control the land. So what do? They send a highly hazardous chemical train straight to the heartland of farmland, Ohio, to destroy their livestock, to destroy their crops, to destroy the water supply, which will then lead to more crops being destroyed. And then who benefits from that? BlackRock and Vanguard. When these farmers who can no longer tend to their crops because their crops are poisoned. When these farmers who can no longer have livestock because they're all dying off, when they have to sell off their land in order to survive, who do you think is going to buy it up? When they no longer can produce the meat and vegetables and fruits that they used to produce, who do you think is going to step in and produce that for them? What is happening right now, in my opinion, is America, and not just America, all over the world, our governments are trying to push the little man out. They're trying to push the independent farmers out. They're trying to push the little family farms out. They want full control over the food supply. They want full control over how the food is grown, how the crops are tended. They want full control over the livestock so they can inject them and do whatever the hell that they want to do with them, ladies and gentlemen. I don't believe this train derailment was an accident. And the reason I say that is because there's been 3 or 4 other train derailments since then, all carrying hazardous material. And the governor of this area says that he didn't even know that this train was headed to the area, and the train wasn't even marked as having hazardous material in it. So there's just this rogue train that I guess no one knew was coming that derails and spills all of these chemicals months after a movie was filmed in this town about a train coming through and spilling a bunch of chemicals. And you want me to sit here and in good faith tell my audience that, this is just life imitating art. This is all a coincidence. Hell to the no, it is not. And I am tired of all of this fake, bogus garbage that is coming out from the mainstream media. I told you all, I am ready to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm ready to start talking about real stuff because we're getting to a point where we can no longer ignore it. We're getting to that point. And you all watching this video, you are doing yourself a disservice if you continue to be quiet. You need to let your voice be heard everywhere. I don't care if you got to go into the town circle and scream it out. Let your voices be heard. Because this stuff isn't going to stop until people start speaking up. And even then, it probably won't stop. But right now, they're basically just doing willy-nilly whatever they want to us because no one's paying attention. And if they are, they don't even care. So all of this stuff is just, we'll make a movie about blowing up chemicals in Ohio, and then we'll actually blow up chemicals in Ohio a couple months later. No one's going to care. They're too worried about TikTok, the Grammys, the Super Bowl, if Rihanna's pregnant. That's literally what's happening right now, folks. So I would encourage you all to, when you see life imitating art, know that 9 times out of 10, it's not life imitating art. It's predictive programming. Let me know your thoughts about this, though, down in the comments. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, ring that notification bell, and hopefully you don't see any predictive programming on television tonight.